Here we go. 2025 NFL season preview. We're on to the NFC South today. And I really don't want to talk about the Saints because it will just it's sad to think of Saints fans what they're going through with you know having to watch the Saints play football. So I won't even talk about the Saints because I don't want to trigger any Saints fans. Um, Shout out Spencer Rattler. At my old job, someone wanted the Falcons to draft him first overall if they had the pick. So shout out to that guy that I forgot his name. Okay, so Buccaneers are obviously going to win this division for most people. I think it's going to be close. I think that it's going to be a two-team race between the Buccaneers and the Panthers. But the Buccaneers, the reason I think it's going to be close is because they got some aging dudes out there. Evans, Godwin. I mean, they got the young buck in Buck Irving, and I like their offensive line. And I think the defense is going to take a step back this year. I just don't see that. I like Baker Mayfield actually a lot. I think that he is going to have and he's going to have a step back with the aging guys. I think Bucky Irving's going to have a big year. I just think they need to get a bit younger at the skill positions outside of running back and out of his control. And at the same time, I'm conflicted every year watching the Bucks heading into the season because I just see Todd Bowles still with the Jets. And once you see someone with the Jets, outside of Aaron Rodgers, Super Bowl 60 NFL champion, um, Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP Aaron Rodgers. If you see someone in the Jets, it's going to be hard to think that they're good. And I had that issue with Sam Darnold. Obviously, don't have that issue with Aaron Rodgers, but Todd Bowles is. If you're a coach for the Jets, I don't think you're a good coach. And he got fired from the Jets. That is just my dumb opinion, though, because obviously he's been successful, great defensive coordinator. I mean, won a few playoff games, but at the same time, he got fired by the Jets. So I really my dumbass thoughts on this team comes down to which team was the head coach of the Jets and got fired. Pretty easy, but I still think they're going to win the division just because my other than the Panthers, I'm low on the Falcons, and then um I'm the nicest thing I could say about the New Orleans Saints this year is that they are an NFL football team, and that is a fact. No, not even a debatable topic. So I'll, I'll keep it simple there. Falcons, I think that Michael Penix's very talented. I think that he's got a big arm. I think he has the. I like Drake London. Um, I was not real high on him coming out of USC, but I think he has um, been way better than I expected. Kyle Pitts is probably going to have his breakout here, but also definitely not. I I really don't know. Living in the Atlanta area, it's tough, so I don't want to be too critical. because that would be too much fun unless I'm wrong. Then not fun. Not fun at all. And Bijan Robinson, I think, is really damn good. I They got talent. There's no arguing that. Their offensive line, eh, I mean, they lost a few pieces. I think their defense is lacking for the most part. I don't think their defense is going to be very good at all. Um, I mean, no Grady Jarrett. It's also a very, very, very difficult position for Michael Penix to be in my opinion, because Kirk Cousins is just sitting there. And if the team's playing all right, but he's not, they still have a guy who's had success. He's second year back from the Achilles. How short is his leash going to be? Um, and I think that could get into his head if he starts to not play well. I just, I think there could be an issue in there just because Kirk Cousins was not good last year, but one, he's getting paid so much money to sit uh on a bench, which I would. Oh man, I'd love that. That's the dream. Be a second or third string quarterback. Perfect life. Nothing better. Ty Detmer. Um, I just think it's tough because if they're playing really well, but Penix isn't, and they got a guy who has won a lot of games. He's put up a lot of numbers. He's a good leader. He's a great person, apparently. And you know, he may be a cornball, but they might be tempted to put him in, and that would be like a move that a team like the Falcons, who hasn't had much success over their history, would do. Um, Outside of like Steve Barkowski. Um, so that's the Falcons, and I am trying to restrain myself from saying that the Carolina Panthers are a true contender. I They're really good. They're really, really good. I think Derek Brown, one of the best defensive tackles in the league. J.C. Horn was unbelievable. I think he underperformed a bit, especially being picked, I believe, before or after, right. He was right before or after Pat Surtain, who won Defensive Player of the Year last year, and just wasn't near the level. And he was pretty close to it last year. J.C. Horn, I think Defensive Player of the Year candidate. In terms of corners, he's definitely one of the contenders. If it, I do think it's going to go to a pass rusher like always, but man, they got. I I loved what Bryce Young did last year, and that is why I'm so high on the Panthers, because Bryce Young and Dave Canales one hell of a job, because I gave up on Bryce Young having a good NFL career. Damn near everyone did. He got benched for Andy Dalton in 2025. Do you know how hard that is to do? I wouldn't get benched for Andy Dalton in 2025. And especially with how, to that point, CJ Stroud had really played like he should have been the number one pick instead of Bryce Young. But I did not think that Bryce Young really had faced much adversity in his career to that point. And having to kind of be humbled maybe a little bit after, he was a really great at Alabama, number one overall pick. Wasn't drafted into the best situation, but man, could. I'm high on Leggett. I'm high on McMillan. I think the offensive line's very good. I like Chuba Hubbard. I think Bryce Young actually was one of the better quarterbacks down the stretch last year. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. I think their defense is going to be a top 10 defense. And I think they could be what Washington was last year. I 100% believe that. I think they're in a division that is fairly weak. I think they could it could easily see them going 5-1. The division maybe split with the Bucks. I think they're that much better than the other two teams. I think they have a they're good. They're they're a real team. So remember this. And play this back at the end of the season. I told you so. Like, subscribe, talk some shit in the comments, especially about that Panthers pick. And all apologies to Saints fans out there that you have to be Saints